Oh boy, so this is going to be the big one, huh? We've talked a lot about how Trump wants to go for a grab at power that will make him completely immune from any potential criminal action taken against him, any justice that he could see, any chance of him seeing the inside of a jail cell for his numerous crimes, the countless felonies he's committed. And we know that he's just kind of done whatever he wants despite what the courts demand, but the courts have been threatening Trump with actual legal trouble. You know, at the very least, they've been threatening the people that have been carrying out Trump's orders. Notably, this is the case with his deportations of people. There have been court orders not to deport. It hasn't just been Abrego Garcia, by the way. He's just sort of like the face of the quickly growing group of people that this has happened to. And so I've been saying for a while now, there are no guardrails. Trump will just do whatever he wants. Like, if Trump can't do that, just means that he's not supposed to do it, he's gonna do it. And everybody under him is going to say yes, sir, when he tells them to, even if he's not supposed to do it, period. Even if he can't do it without, say, the approval of Congress. Even if he can't, say, do it without the approval of the Senate. He'll do it anyway. That's what he's been doing since the start, and it's only going to get worse. Which is why, to be fair, it does kind of surprise me that they're even bothering with the bill we're about to talk about, because Trump's just been doing whatever he wants already. If he thinks he needs to pass this in order to continue with his future plans, God only knows what he thinks is next. Trump is moving for having his GOP Republican MAGA senators to pass a bill that would essentially make it so no court can block Trump. Putting it quite simply, but it's far more complicated than that, and so I brought up this video to act as a little bit of an aid. Let's watch.
Analysis now of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill as it heads to the Senate floor after passing the House by one vote this week. So take a look at this chart. That longest line there is how much the bill would increase income for the wealthiest 0.1% of Americans.
Oh no, we don't want to talk about this part of the bill. I mean, I do, but not in this segment. I want to talk about the bill around Trump's not being able to be found in contempt of court. I hate the New York Times, like, ad block. Or not ad block, but, like, paywalls you. Yeah, so this is a hidden provision in the budget bill. Dog's barking because a grocery order just arrived. President Donald Trump's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill passed in the U.S. House of Representatives by a narrow vote of 215 to 214. That's right, guys. It passed. It's happened. It's not like, oh, are they going to pass it? Is this going to happen? It passed. And very, very narrowly. By one fucking vote. By one. I'm sorry for the dog bark, by the way. I can't solve that. But, you know, you guys can enjoy it. You guys enjoy it. One vote. One vote. And this bill passed. That is so demoralizing, but it should actually be somewhat encouraging. Even in such a MAGA-dominated government, this didn't pass with full unanimous agreement. It did pass, and that fucking sucks, but, you know, there's a little bit of a silver lining to things, at least. This massive legislation, totaling more than 1,000 pages, uses a complicated congressional procedure known as budget reconciliation to allow the Senate to pass it with fewer votes than would normally be required, and without bipartisan support. Most attention on this budget bill has centered around issues like the tax code, Medicaid, and immigration. However, there's a lot more hidden in the House's reconciliation proposal, including two provisions, Campaign Legal Center, or CLC as identified, that would severely harm voters and threaten the rule of law. An attack on the judicial branch. The first of these outrageous policies, buried in Section 7302 of the legislation, would severely restrict federal courts' authority to hold government officials in contempt if they violate judicial orders. That's right. So Trump has been doing whatever he wants, and it's been very clear he doesn't care what the judges think, but now his underlings are moving to make it so that there is no legal pathway for the judges to even press charges against him should they find that he has gone against their orders, such as in the case of Abrego Garcia. The first of these outrageous policies, a court's ability to hold bad actors in contempt is a vital enforcement power that judges can use to compel compliance with their rulings. When somebody chooses to violate a court order, the judge who issued the ruling has a few different options to force them to comply, including holding them in contempt and issuing sanctions, fines, or even jail time as a punishment. But the reconciliation bill would require anyone suing the government to pay a bond before the court can use its contempt power to enforce injunctions or restraining orders meant to halt illegal actions. By restricting this authority, the House bill threatens the power of the judicial branch. On its own, that represents an attack on the rule of law and the separation of powers that underlies our democracy. But in the context of our current political moment, a more specific goal is unfortunately clear. Courts have already ruled at least 170 times against the Trump administration, including a preliminary injunction sought by the CLC that halted Trump's unconstitutional attempt to change the rules for federal elections. In response to many of these rulings, the president has resisted compliance and waged intimidation campaigns targeting the judges responsible. We covered this a lot last year in the lead up to the election when Trump was in and out of court constantly, and he was using his social media to actively drum up hate brigades against the judges and the judges' families, and yet they were all under so much pressure to come off as impartial. None of them were willing to do anything more than give Trump just a little slap on the wrist, just a little slap. In light of all of this, the House bill seems squarely and unacceptably focused on shielding the Trump administration from accountability when it breaks the law. To make matters worse, the new rule would be so broad that it could allow any government actor to escape being held accountable for violating court rulings. It would also apply to court orders and injunctions issued before the law took effect. This would render thousands of prior orders across the country immediately unenforceable through contempt proceedings, no matter how the public has already relied on them. This provision cannot be allowed to stand. No government official, including the president, should be able to simply ignore court rulings that find their actions illegal or unconstitutional. The rule of law and our democracy itself depends on it. Yeah, like I said, guys, I don't want to do a big I told you so, but I've been saying for a while now that all these commentators that keep saying don't overreact to Trump's election, there's guardrails, he can't do this, he can't do that. I've been saying from the start, that's basically just cope, because he can really do whatever he wants if the consequences for him doing something aren't immediately being arrested and taken away in handcuffs and put in a cell. If those aren't the consequences, he can do whatever he wants. A flood of false information during the election. The second problematic provision within section 43201C of the House Reconciliation Bill would impose a 10-year ban on the enforcement of all state and local laws that regulate artificial intelligence, or AI, including rules for AI's use in political campaigns and elections. Oh boy, Trump, as you guys know, has been a big lover of AI. We all remember that great Trump Gaza #1 video, right? The horrible AI-generated music video about how Trump wants to flatten Gaza and turn it into beachfront real estate that he plans to develop and invest in. Literally what Kushner was bragging about and claiming was his plan all the way through the election, as people claimed that Biden and Kamala Harris were just as bad. Just saying. Anyway. Currently, more than 20 states have already enacted laws to address election misinformation and manipulation made easy by new AI tools. These laws are meant to address real challenges for our democracy, like fake content that misleads voters about the candidates or issues on their ballot. As the technology develops, the public has already seen how AI can be used to depict events that never actually happened, or discourage participation in elections, and even create false admissions of election interference. Depict events that never happened. What are some good examples of that? Never mind, the Washington Post copyright walls that. I cannot read that without paying them. And I'm not paying the New York Times. Those bastards better give their news away for free or not at all. Well, yeah, the people eating pets thing wasn't necessarily made up using AI, but it was a manufactured narrative for sure. To protect voters from these harms, CLC and others have called on Congress to pass strong legislation regulating AI's use in our democratic process. However, Congress has so far failed to act. In that void, states across the country have stepped up and enacted safeguards, such as prohibiting AI from being used to intentionally deceive voters, and requiring disclaimers that inform the public when election ads use content manipulated or generated with AI. If the House reconciliation package is allowed to override these state laws, Congress will have not only failed in its own duty to regulate AI, but actively prevented other lawmakers from protecting their constituents. It's really scary, the idea that there could just be, like, AI campaign ads on TV and that's just legal. Like, there's no recourse for if someone makes, like, an AI attack ad about you and they just make up a bunch of insane claims and then use AI to make it look like that happened. That is some scary stuff. And you have no recourse whatsoever. You just have to deal with that being a thing. Simply put, a 10-year ban on enforcing AI laws across the country could mean a decade of false information that undermines voters' rights to make informed decisions. It would be more than misguided and outright dangerous for the future of truth and trust in our elections. American democracy is already facing unprecedented challenges. The rule of law is under attack, while public confidence in our elected leaders and government institutions continues to falter. If Congress enacts these two provisions buried in the House budget bill, the situation will only get worse. For these reasons, CLC strongly urges the Senate to remove these policies as it considers the legislation, or vote no on the entire package should they remain. Support our work as we continue to fight to protect the rule of law and our democracy. This is from campaignlegal.org, the CLC. They are currently moving to challenge this bill, which is wide-ranging and has a lot going on in it. And the main thing that has been meant to distract the media, because remember how the right operates. They do the flood the zone strategy, as Steve Bannon calls it, where they just put a bunch of bullshit out there in the media environment and overwhelm the mainstream media and the left and essentially distract from the more damning stories that are a little more boring to talk about with more loud and in-your-face stories, right? Like, oh my God, did you see that Trump did insert wild, crazy thing? But in the meantime, he's having a bill passed that'll make it so no judge can find him in contempt of court if he goes against their court orders with something that he orders be done, right? Like, this is a scary thing, but it's much less exciting than like, this bill's going to lower taxes for the wealthy and raise taxes for working class people. Like, of course it was. And that's what he wants everybody focused on right now. Not the fact that that bill also is going to end up, just letting him get away with everything he ever could think of doing, possibly, from now until he's out of office. He cannot be found guilty of any crime. Good Lord. This is a time that's going to be read about in history books. This is going to be taught in schools, assuming we ever come back from this, to be honest. It could be that we have very different future than what I'm imagining if Trump never leaves office and we end up with, like, the Trump dynasty ruling America forever or something. But that future, not likely. Notwithstanding, I do think we are living in history right now. Like, this is a time that young people 30, 40, 50 years from now are going to ask, what was it like to see all this go down? They'll be able to go back and see internet videos and all the tweets and all that. And, the history will be well preserved. Make no mistake. But people will still ask, what was it like? And man, to know that we're living in a historical time, an event that's going to be thought of that way, that people are going to just writhe with curiosity about and want to know what it was like to see that go down, what was it like to be there when American democracy failed. It's scary, but it's also, like, weirdly exciting. I don't want to doom her too much. No matter how bad things get, I don't want to doom her, so we got to look at the silver lining. It is, at the very least, not boring, right? It's not boring, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, if y'all enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or in any way enjoyable whatsoever, then please consider hitting the like button on this video and or my stream, whichever one you be watching. If you're watching live, it's my stream. If you're watching after the fact, it's almost certainly the video. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Really does help a lot in the algorithm. It forces YouTube to push my content out to more people, which just helps the channel across the board. It's totally just the best way to support the channel. On top of that, you can drop a comment as well to double it up. You know, it really does help as well. Say whatever you like, but if you want to let me know you watched this far and you like the content enough to see all the way to the end, then please consider commenting, "Trump is no king." Comment that down below, and it'll let me know you watched this far, and frankly, it's a pretty base statement too, so I imagine you'll just want to say it. Anyway, on top of that, if you want to see more from me in the future, you can subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, you can follow my social medias linked down below, especially my fan Discord, where every week on Fridays, I host gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights. I also announce all my new uploads and streams there, so if YouTube's bugging out, you know that Discord won't, and you'll get a notification when I'm active. So make sure you don't forget to join. Links down below in the description. If you want to support me directly, financially, you feel like it, and you can afford it, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub at my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support the channel, though, thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you have a good one.